the ideas. I want you to know why you chose to be an entrepreneur, because we all get in thinking we're going to have all this great free time. We're all going to be bazillionaires. And oftentimes you realize there really are 7 days a week, and there are potentially 24 hours a day if you're not careful.
Well, hello and welcome back to the Amada Kaufman Show. We're continuing our series on coaches that don't suck. And another coach who does not suck is Dane Boyle. Dane, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. And I like being honored by a coach that doesn't suck.
Love it. Love it. Well, Dane, I invited you to the podcast. Yes, because you raised your hand and said you'd be interested, but I was really excited to have you here because I've noticed your social media presence. You know, we're buddies on Facebook, and you are prolific in your content. You create quite a bit, but you are also extremely engaging in your content. And that's something that I really appreciate, because I think a lot of coaches are very scared to just show up as their full selves everywhere, including social media. And I really get the sense that you're one of those people that has worked past that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I couldn't tell you where the epiphany was, but it was like, you just have to be genuine. And just the other day, I was in a conversation on a one-on-one with a client, and I kind of lost track of what I was talking about. I was like, dang it. I said, I guess I'm human. And she goes, that's what I like about you, is you just show up in all your broken pieces and do the best that you, pardon me, the best you can do.
I love that. I love that. And I have something more on this very thing, but before we go any further, Dane, can you just take 30 seconds and introduce yourself so people kind of know your background, what you're about, and why you're here?
For sure. Like you said, my name is Dane Boyle. I've been in the coaching space for over 30 years. I was an athlete, and I didn't really know this is where I was going to go. Right. I went in the military, got married young, I still have 3 children. They're all adults now. But I watched my father as a physician literally do people over profits. And I watched him do that. I think part of that is because he didn't become a physician until he was 35. I was in 8th grade. So I watched him do it, and I watched him connect with people. And the one thing he always said was, the most important real estate we own is the 6 inches between your ears.
And that's a golden nugget. I love that.
Right. And so I finally went back to college. I have a graduate degree, and then I got into adult fitness, to be honest with you, first. And then people said, you should go to life coaching school. You kind of do it anyway. And again, taking back to what Dad said several years ago, I'm fascinated with the 6 inches between your ears. And when we can dive into that and your insecurities and let you show up as your authentic self, you can grow. And ultimately, my mission is to help people join the movement to age with awesomeness, to embrace every gray hair, every wrinkle, every scar, and just love it and step into it.
Dude, I love this. Okay, so we're going, just so that everybody knows what's happening right now, we're moving from being Facebook friends to friends. This is super cool. Yeah, I love it. I love it. You were talking about authenticity and everything, and it just prompted like a little quick anecdote from yesterday. I was so every Monday I do a live stream at 9 a.m. Central. So, you know, anybody who's following me, if you're on Instagram, if you're on the YouTubes, you know, definitely come check that out, because I do share a topic, but I do free coaching right live on Instagram, which is just like so fun. So anyway, being the tech genius that I am, I decided to simulcast, which means I'm broadcasting to the Instagram, the YouTube, the Facebook, and the LinkedIn simultaneously. Very fancy, very advanced strategy. And I posted to my Instagram yesterday this one story that literally gave me like the number of replies that I normally get. And it was that I shared that although I simulcasted, I was on mute for 30 minutes. And then I had a laugh about it, and I said, okay, time for a checklist. I see the spot on my wall where that checklist has got to go. And I just thought that was so telling that, you know, we put so much pressure to be perfect on ourselves. And I'm a human being. I kind of run through the same thing, but I think like me sharing mistakes, it honestly does get like 10% the response. And I'm curious, like, tell me a little bit more about this breakthrough that you had about being authentic online, because I think this is a thread I really, really want to pull, because a lot of coaches struggle with this.
Well, it's how I coach too. It's one of those things that, so I've been much heavier in my lifetime, et cetera, et cetera. And when I started posting pictures about the unhealthy version of Dane, people were like, Well, you bring street cred to showing up as yourself and deciding, look, I want to live longer. I'm a grandfather now. I want to play on the playground. I want to do all these things. And I just decided I just have to be me, not fake. Like I thought about, because it's being recorded, do I put on a collar shirt? No, I wear these kind of like sun shirts all the time. I live also down at the Texas Gulf Coast, and it's just who I am. And I always wear a backwards
You're Texan too?
hat. Yeah. Do you live in Texas? We'll have to talk.
Yeah, I'm in Fort Worth, Texas. See, you guys,
unfolding. I was in McKinney over the weekend. We could have gotten together. Like
we literally could have had lunch.
Well,
oh my god,
we'll do it again. I'm speaking in February, so in Dallas. So we'll definitely.
Yeah, definitely let me know when you come down. So tell me more.
Okay, about authenticity. So I wanted to make sure that it's who I am. So many, many, many years ago, I was going out to California. My sister lives in Northern California in the Bay Area. And she's like, you got to brand yourself as you, because people want to see you. And I was talking at dinner on Saturday with a friend that came to the Airbnb, made us this great Asian fusion meal. But I was just talking about different layers of coaching. And he said, for him, and it's always been the fact that it's the one-on-one connection. And that's it. And I want people to understand that and be genuine. Look, if you screw up, just own it. I did a video one time and I thought it was like the best content. I was on fire. I was sideways somehow, like the entire time. Like
I've had that one too.
What is that? Or in my coaching group, we go live a lot just randomly around the house. My wife and I'll just be like, hey, today we're giving the dog a bath. I don't know. And just talking. And I went to turn the camera around the other day and I turned it off instead of turning the camera around. I'm like, well, one of our things in our manifesto in the Trailblazers, that's my group, is everybody's going to blaze a trail that's never been there before and ask people to follow them. That we will not live a false, filtered life.
That's so good. That's so good.
And even one of the girls said, well, she wants to lift weights. She's 52 and blah, blah. But she doesn't want to be in the gym, which I'm not a big gym rat anyway. And I said, take your weights to the lake. You're there every day. She goes, well, people watch me. Who cares?
Yes.
Who cares? They may want to join you. Maybe you're the crazy weightlifting lady at the lake in Oklahoma. Who cares? Be as freaky, be as weird, be as genuine. Because there are people just like you in the fitness world. There's a guy that does Fitness Geeks or something like that. I know I screwed that up. But he loves Marvel. And he's like, there are men and women that love Marvel. Why can't we be fit? I'm like, it's brilliant. It's not me, but it's brilliant. There's an audience for it. And if you serve everybody, you serve nobody.
That's
Again,
so
if you
true.
serve everybody, you serve nobody.
Yeah. And I'm actually really curious, like, what's your take on deciding what you do want to reveal versus being okay with not revealing something and then also still feeling authentic? Because, like, I feel like you've probably navigated this and I've definitely got a take, but I want to hear yours.
So it's interesting you say that. We don't need all the gory details of the fight with your mom.
Right.
But you can
just
still
happened last night.
Argument with your mom. Okay. But you can still have an argument with your mom or your kids or your boss. It's kind of like a really sexy, hot movie scene.
Okay.
We can know what's going to happen, but we don't always have to actually see it happening. Right? It's a prelude to it. And then it can fade off to music and whatever. But it's the same thing on that. Like, so my wife just had a pacemaker put in. She's relatively young. She battled low heart rate even as marathoner she did. And just the last 6 months, it's just not been good. And she went to a new cardiologist and literally within 48 hours.
Whoa.
So I waited for her to post it on Facebook. I actually asked her if I could share it. And she said, of course. But she shared it. And there's hundreds of likes, comments, etc. But she didn't have to talk about going to the surgery. She might later. She might talk about the fear. She might talk about that. But it was the idea to listen to your body first. Does that make sense? So the idea is, we don't have to know all the gory details, but we have to know the idea of it.
I think the other strategy that kind of came to my mind, and thanks for sharing that story about your lovely bride, because I think we all have like this life and this private life, but I think what happens is we don't share anything because we're scared of sharing anything. And the truth is in life, you are going through it, like you're actively participating. So let's say you had the big fight with your mom last night, or, you just got fired, or there's something that it's like right now it's red hot embarrassing. Like it's just, you're still working through it. And I think of this as like, it's an open wound. It's not a scar. And what I love to do and what I would generally recommend to people is become a journalist of your life. Like write down everything. They call it journaling for a reason, but literally like document what happened, how you felt, how you responded, what you're thinking right now in this moment, and then put it on the shelf for a little bit because you don't want to go on social media red hot and say something that you're not going to be really proud of in 6 months. That's kind of the standard. But that's different, I think, than being inauthentic. I think a lot of times we have all that, like, there's so much pressure to be authentic. I think it leads to a level of inauthenticity because it's like, is that your truest and best self that's showing up on social media, complaining about politics or complaining about your fight with your mom or whatever the thing is that's bothering you? Are you using social media to be this big venting place? Or are you using media to be authentically social? And if you kind of think about being authentically social, like you do decide not to share everything over drinks, like you do decide what you're going to showcase, So when you're kind of going through your process, when you're, connecting, you're marketing, you're selling, you're coaching, like talk to me a little bit about what your overall strategy is, if you don't mind.
So number one, when somebody comes into my world, I want to build a relationship that's a foot wide and a mile deep. That's so important to me to connect and build relationships. And my coach, his tagline is that relationships beat algorithms. So again, relationship beat algorithms. So it's always literally showing up your genuine self. And I hear there's so much fear. There's fear of failure. There's fear of not doing what your mom, dad, brother, sister, and because we're in Texas, your tia and your tio, so your aunt and uncle, what they're going to do. And so the whole marketing strategy is a connection. It's really to see what, if you look at my social media, and if you guys can look me up, it's just Dane Boyle. I'm like Sting and Cher, Beyonce, like it's just Dane.
Just Dane.
But it's a mixture of join me or this is the free download or whatever. But then it's my life. It's just sharing us having a cold beer in Rockport, Texas, because we have a place down there. It can be, it doesn't matter. But the idea is every day I want to connect and I want to invite. And I say I want to take my whisper to a roar so people know who I am. And then it really is connection. So every day, Monday through Friday, I literally manually send to hundreds of people a daily Danish text. So it's my thoughts, and I just take what talking to you, like it might prompt something. And this morning, I usually send it out about 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. But I've actually taught live at 5:30 this morning. I went and met somebody this morning in person, and I haven't sent it out. And the response was like, hey, I realized I miss that positivity every single morning. So to answer your question, it's a little mix. It's not, you see this, oh, you should have 8 posts about X, and then you should invite twice. Gary Vee says we should have like 30 pieces of content every single day. Like, so I just decided that. And I also decided, to be honest with you, that I'm just going to use Facebook as my own blog. I don't care. If you don't want to read that I have so many paragraphs, then don't read it. But my people, that will resonate.
I mean, like, I think algorithms are supposed to. So I'm a big systems thinker. So, I'm like, yeah, I mean, like, you still have a system, right? It's a daily commitment to sending the text. I imagine you have some kind of a system around how you gain permission for sharing the text, and then some sort of a system to blast it out, right? Like, so there's like system there. But I think where people get kind of twisted up is they are like, well, should I follow Dane's system of 1 text a day, or should I follow Gary's system of 30 pieces of content per day? What should I do? What's right? What's good? What's, and I think that's where you kind of lose it is because it's like, well, actually, Gary Vee is probably arguably one of the most prolific relationship builders on social media. The method he used was posting prolifically over a long period of time. and then he gets that compound effect of like so many millions of people raving about who Gary Vee is. I think that I think when you're choosing your system, a lot of it has to do with what is your authentic capacity at this time. Like, because the thing about Gary is like Gary Vee has been doing his thing for a very long time, and he's made a lot of mistakes along the way, but he's made enough big wins that he can predictably provide like roles, team members to follow him around and not just capture the content, but produce it and distribute it and do all of those kinds of things. And when you're a solopreneur, I mean, we all start somewhere. And I think the thing that people miss is that you can start with a really amazing system like you just shared of like, hey, here's my daily thoughts. And you could do that email, you could do that text, you could, something I do is on my Instagram stories every morning, I share a motivational quote. And, so I'm doing essentially the same thing. I'm putting in a different medium. And I think it's like, choose the medium that works for you, choose the capacity that you've got. And if you want to grow, if you want to go towards Gary Vee type status, then you need to have a process to review what is your new capacity. Because now that you've got like hundreds of people, you're probably in a very different place than when you very first started that.
100%. It was just an idea. And I said, hey, Amanda, may I text you? And you said yes or no. And I tell them, look, I'm not going to take it personally. Because I do have even some of my own clients, like, it's just too much in the morning for me. I need to wake up, et cetera, et cetera. And then to be honest, I stopped doing it at one point because I wasn't getting the feedback I wanted. Because
oh my gosh, this is one reason everybody stops. So tell me more about this story.
Okay, so I've been doing it on and off. The Danish hashtag was my first Twitter hashtag when I had literally, I don't know if any of us really know what we're doing on social media. We just do our best. And then I just
know what we're doing right now.
Right, exactly. So again, my love language, if you do 5 love language, is quality time. So that's another reason I think relationships are so important to me. But literally I would text Amanda, how many days in 6 months, and she would never give me a thumbs up, never give me an emoji, never whatever the response was. I'm like, well, this is a damn waste of time. And I stopped doing it.
So you had like resentment and some criticism for what you were doing, right?
Kind of like email, right? Don't we all want 100% open rate? Like we want.
Yeah. And, it took mentorship for me to find out that actually when you go to scale, your open rate could drop down to as low as 10%. I'm like, what?
But maybe it's the right 10%.
Well, yeah. Or, when they say at scale, they're also saying like, because we throw a lot of money at advertising and collecting all the wrong leads that are counting in this, and we don't have the discernment to organize or segment our email lists. And, the most expensive advice you're ever going to get is bad advice. Just on that point, if you're getting like a 10% open rate and you are not collecting leads at a really high rate and testing a lot of ads, something's wrong. And you probably want to have an engagement and filtering process in your email to get your email open rates over 30%. I would say is a really good kind of target for a coach. But
so because I've been able to, when I've been able to segment mine, I have one group that'll be 60 to 70% at several hundred people. It's not thousands of people, but that group reads. And I was going back today. I'm like, okay, what did I offer in there? What are their click rates then? Is with the next piece that I wanted to know. So they're reading the content, and I don't feel like I've really captured exactly what they're looking for. I mean, some are clients too, but anyway. So go back to the texting.
You're perfectly describing the process of marketing though, right? Like, because I think what I believed for a really long time, and I think the marketplace does a super crappy job of making it sound this way, is I always thought that there was like this silver bullet system. Because, dude, you've activated something in me. I'm not normally this systemy on a path.
That's okay.
But it's good. It's fine. It's nerdy. We like it. But what I learned later is that actually marketing is a skill and it's an iterative improvement process. So let's come back to your doubts about the text messaging. You had judgment, you had rejection of yourself for having done this, and it's a waste of time. So what happened next?
Long story short, I had a client who was actually leaving. Like she'd committed to a year, and it was to help her mindset to get into medical school. And we'd done a lot of really, really good work. But then I asked Jennifer, when you when you're done, may I still continue the daily Danish? Would you like that? She said yes, but then I just randomly stopped. And she just randomly texted me back. She goes, I miss those so much. You have no idea how, and that's the thing. We don't know who's reading them. Just like if they don't unsubscribe from your email, at least it says Amada Kaufman X number of times, weeks, and they still see you. And you do then filter out. So I do some coaching too, like business coaching. And we'd set up a system. It's like, well, people are leaving. Okay, but all you're doing is pruning the trees. The people that stay are truly the people that want to hear your message. So long story short, it was a client that told me, you should do it. And there are still times, to be honest with you, that it'll be a Friday. I'm like, man, I haven't heard from anybody. I can tell the ones that resonate right away because I get ding, 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 ding. And people respond. And I need to pay attention to that message style, I think, or whatever the message is. But I've just decided to do it. Go ahead.
You know, I follow kind of a Pareto principle as I'm improving my stuff. Because like my reach has increased dramatically on like Facebook, Instagram, and other socials. I'm still working on other channels, but the basic principle is this. I look at, I document everything that I'm putting out there. And then, and by the way, this is super easy. If you have like a creator account on Facebook, for example, very easy to document it because they do it. They have a whole creator dashboard. But when you have a record of like everything that you are doing, then you can actually measure over time, how does that particular thing perform? And if you don't have a creator account, you can literally do it like you're doing it with like, how many replies did I get? If it's a text, if it's a post on social media, how many likes, hearts, how many comments, right? And just like measure that. And then I practice this idea of top 10, bottom 10%. So in a given month, let's say that you were posting every day. What were the top 3 posts? And what were the least successful 3 posts? Right. And don't worry about the other, no, we're doing math in public, the other 24 posts in the month, right? Just like those other 24, they're in the middle of the bell curve. And what we're wanting to do is we're wanting to cut off the bottom and enhance the top of the bell curve. And over time, what happens is that your average performance shifts higher and higher. So yeah, like I love your strategy there. So Dane, what are 3 things that you think help a coach not to suck?
Number 1, I think you have to invest in yourself first. I think you have, so I call it head, heart, and health. So your mindset, your emotions, and then your physical health. Because without those 3 being in some side of alignment, I don't think we can go chase our dreams. So I think that's number 1. I think that we also should be mentored. I think we should have coaches. If you're asking people to hire you as a coach, you should look at whatever the next level is, or maybe even 2 levels up. Where do you want to go and who can help you?
Yeah.
And then, like you said, I think you need to develop strategies over time. If I could go back to when I first had my Google Drive, I'd be a heck of a lot more organized. Does that make sense? So my creativity is content creation. I love it. I didn't know as a little boy that I was creative because I don't paint well. I don't sing well, but I can write and I can shoot videos and I can make people or help people believe in themselves. But now, because it's not as organized, in my new stuff in the last several years has folders and all kinds of different things. But if there's still some content I think that I wrote back in the day that could be more modernized, that I have to kind of think, okay, I know I wrote something about X. And Google's pretty good about figuring out in your Google Drive or whatever what you wrote. But you're like, that's not quite right. I go back a lot if I can't find something. And I've been on Facebook 2007 or 8, right after it came out.
Yeah,
like
me too.
I wrote something. So my sister's worked in electronic media since like 2000. And so anything would come out. She was in New York City. You need to be on Facebook. You need to be I'm not on Twitter now. You need to be on Twitter. You need, all these different things. So again, invest in your physical, mental, emotional health to make sure that you can show up on days even when you don't want to. Because even last week, several of my trailblazers said, how are you with Tanya's surgery? And you still have got clients and things like that. I'm just doing my thing. I still get up at 4:00 in the morning. I work out. I pray. I lost my dad 10 years ago. I tell him every day I'm going to try to make him proud. But and I just literally took a nap. I don't usually take a nap, but I was like, you know what? I can sit at the computer. I'm not going to be very productive for the next 2 hours. I'm going to take a nap. But then I woke up. I got up during the day, but next day I was fine. Find that coach or mentor that can help you do it. Invest the money. Right there after the pandemic, the world opened back up. my coach, George, he had a retreat, had an event in Montana. And I kept saying, he wasn't my coach then, but I kept saying, I think I should go. I think I should go. And my wife was pretty much probably tired of me thinking I should go. So she got online, bought the ticket and said, you got to figure out how to get your butt there on the plane and your lodging, but you're going to go. And so I've been to masterminds. When he's been in Texas, I've been all over. So invest in that. And then again, just show up as your authentic self and be as organized as possible. And I think you said too, is your systems are better today than they were when you started, and be okay with that.
Hell yeah. And my systems are different than they were because I'm in a different place. So
100%.
When I very, very first started, I was such a hardcore introvert. Like, this conversation would not be a possibility.
Yeah.
At that time, right? But I was really good offline. I was really good one-on-one. I had all these heebie-jeebies and fears about making relationships online. So I had a different system then. And then the thing is that I built the skill and I built the capability to speak confidently online and to do video and to write. I invested heavily in learning how to do copywriting and how to have higher quality persuasive conversation without it being icky, because that was super important to me.
For sure.
And, my capabilities grown, my capacity has grown, and my ambition has actually grown. Right. So because of all of that, the system that worked to start is not the system that I use to scale or to grow. And I've even had scaling systems that I was like so sure that was going to be the thing that took us to the moon. And it was like a huge bust. And it's like, okay, sometimes when you're putting in those systems, even if you have like a higher capacity or a higher desire or a higher capability, there's no guarantee that everything is going to work exactly the way that you expect. And that's why that iterative approach to constantly learning and constantly optimizing and kind of right-sizing your system to your capability, capacity, and ambition is really, really important.
I always use the analogy that when you went to kindergarten or first grade, you didn't know algebra.
Oh my God. I had a chance just yesterday. My son, he homeschools, and his dad was out of town yesterday. Dad is usually the learning coach. And thank goodness. I was like terrified because my son was like, I need help with math. And I was like, okay, I have an engineering degree and everything, but that is like a bit like, what are we working on? Is it this new magic math that they teach? Like, am I going to even be able to help you? And fortunately, it was unit conversion. I'm like, I did that for 4.5 years in my engineering degree. No problem. Let's go, buddy. And it was just like, it was so awesome. But he was having a bit of a breakdown because they were asking him to they were teaching gratuity and prices and taxes and all that. And he had to add a lot of things up, do a bunch of multiplication and division to be able to get to the answer. And he was getting stressed. And I was like, dude, everything that you've been doing up to this point is preparing you for doing the next level. And the next level is even better after this one. Don't fail to confront the challenge, man. So
talk about win or lose or pass or fail. I'll be like, how many of you made straight A's, K through 12, and then if you went to college or you went to trade school or whatever? Well, I sure as heck didn't do it, but I still have my master's degree. I still got it. I still showed up. And that's about that.
These get degrees, man.
Changing the systems. What's funny about your engineering, I was actually an engineering assistant when I was active duty. So I did drafting and surveying. So I worked in civil. I didn't end up pursuing that line of, education, but that's what I did.
That's really cool. Yeah, I did a chemical engineering degree and then moved into consulting right away. So
nice.
Awesome. Dane, how can people catch up with you?
So I'm actually going to give you my phone number and you can connect with me on WhatsApp. And then I will share with you, Amanda, a free 5-day course on how to find your why. Because even as business owners, we need to know why we are showing up for other people, whether you're selling t-shirts or you're selling some kind of personal business coaching or whatever that looks like. When you know why you're getting up every day, I want you to jump out of bed like a kid on Christmas morning and be excited about doing it. Okay? So literally, you can text me at 830-837, and I don't farm that out. I do have a VA, but I answer all of those messages. I answer all of my emails, okay? I get help in the back office and posting and all those type of things, but it's me. And then, like I said, Amanda, there'll be a 5-day course. and there'll be some follow-up emails. But the idea is I want you to know why you chose to be an entrepreneur, because we all get in thinking we're going to have all this great free time. We're all going to be bazillionaires. And oftentimes you realize there really are 7 days a week, and there are potentially 24 hours a day if you're not careful. You're not careful. And the very first podcast I was on many, many, many years ago, and they always ask, what advice would you give yourself? I said, I would have created a schedule. Because
Say it louder for the people in the back.
I would have created a schedule because I thought because I was so available that it would be great. But then people don't necessarily value your time. And then all of a sudden you're on a trip and nowadays you're all on your phone and you're doing different things. And it's like, my office hours are X and Y. And I do have East Coast and West Coast, and I'm in Central Time Zone, so I balance that out. But I create a schedule. And sometimes, to be honest with you, I tell my clients, the trailblazers, hey, Tanya and I are going somewhere, and I'm going to be dark for 3 days. You know what they usually say? Good.
Yeah, exactly. I was so afraid of time blocking because in a prior life, I was very conditioned that hyper availability was equivalent to value. And it's just not. It's really not. It's the quality of the interactions that you have and the value that you're providing in those awesome interactions.
Sure.
And again, your capacity grows as you continue to develop your systems and develop your team. And a schedule is like a super basic system that most people ignore these days, and they just would rather chase notifications around. And it's like, honey, your dreams deserve more than that dopamine hit. Like they really, really, really do.
They really, really, really do.
I love it. Well, Dane, thank you so much for joining. And listener, be sure to subscribe and do us a favor, leave a review and leave Dane 5 stars. He did a great job. He really showed up awesomely. It'll help others find the podcast and find this episode. And we really appreciate you taking the time to do that. Also, go ahead and share this episode with 3 of your friends. If you've got 3 friends that are trailblazing, that are building a business, and they want to have way more confidence in the connections that they are making, this is a great episode to share with them. And thank you so much for joining. Thanks, Dane.
It was my pleasure. I look forward to doing it again sometime.
Yeah, exactly. We got to have you back. This is too good. This is fire. All right, y'all. Have a great one, and we'll see you in the next episode.